Electric charge. As you open your presentation on electric charge, you'll see as we scroll down that it starts out by talking about rubbing fur with both metallic and non-metallic objects. It's showing you here with the pictures that as you rub the plastic ruler into the fur, you're all of a sudden getting the properties of attraction. So as you look at the paper, at the image, first of all, the ruler with the paper, before rubbing, there is no attraction. Once you rub the ruler in the fur, then afterwards, the ruler can now magically pick up the paper. So we're left to wonder what's causing the ruler to be able to pick up the paper after it's been rubbed in the fur that it didn't have prior to rubbing in the fur. Looking at the next slide, we go back to ancient Greece. And the answer to this is their word for amber, which was electron, spelled with a K. Now you've all heard of amber, I'm sure, from Jurassic Park. It's that sort of copper, orangey color gem, if you will. It's the basically tree sap, if you will, that's been hardened over time. And you all seen from Jurassic Park the mosquitoes that had the dinosaur blood in there with that, and again from Jurassic Park they made it quite famous that that's where they got the dino DNA and whatnot from. But in this sense, we're using it that when you had a thread and it was taken and put over a spindle of amber, okay, that the thread was attracted to the amber. Now today you would see this while you're at home doing laundry and you take clothes out of the dryer. You may see that some of the clothes want to stick to each other, okay, have static cling, if you will. And this is sort of some of the same effect that's going on. And so this is why we took the word that the Greeks had for amber, electron, and we based our word off of this, electric, and we're going to take other words off of this, such as the word itself, electron, meaning the particles. For those of you who've had chemistry, of course, those are the negative particles in the atom. And jumping on ahead in the story, electricity is the flow or the movement of electrons in a path. And so we know that electricity is caused by the movement of electrons, okay? And if it is electric, it's generally meant that there is an imbalance in the number of electrons and the positive particles known as protons. So again, for those of you who've had chemistry, a little bit of old hat. But for those who have not, we're going to take a few moments and go back and review that. Okay? Looking at the next slide, we can look and see that dissimilar, meaning materials made out of different types of substances. Dissimilar, unalike. Dissimilar, unalike materials would attract each other after they've been rubbed, again, with the fur. Okay? Again, primitive times, we're only looking at the animal fur. But on the other hand, materials that were similar, made out of the same material, they would repel each other. So what this would be like is if you, again, took two rulers and rubbed both of them in fur, and let's say you hung them from something and had them hanging down so they could touch, possibly, and you rubbed them with fur. If they were both plastic rulers, then because you rubbed them both with fur, they would want to repel or move away from each other. But if you had a wooden ruler and a plastic ruler, because they were dissimilar, made from different materials, they would be attracted to each other. They'd want to stick to each other. Okay? Now notice the next paragraph here. These effects would not happen without the contact, and later, given the forces of attraction and repulsion, would stop. Okay? This was later led to the thought that something was being exchanged between the materials, and this thing that was exchanged was called charge. Okay? And so it was thought then that this charge came in two different types. Now, we're going to move on then to our first major American scientist, one of my favorites, and that is Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin does a lot of work with electricity. One of my favorite exhibits in all time is to go up to the Franklin Institute up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I know you've all seen the cartoons and stories about Benjamin Franklin flying a kite and having a key on the kite and so-called quote-unquote discovering electricity with this. Well, number one, he doesn't discover electricity, so please take that out of your head. So obviously at this point, the ancient Greeks had already quote-unquote discovered electricity. But what Franklin is doing is he is seeing how we can get electricity into the